Hello and welcome to another creature case study. In this case study, we're going to examine our favorite dinosaur mascot of creature. Before we begin, let's take a look at the body parts that make up this dinosaur. So go to the meshing mode and here you go. Here's the jaws of the dinosaur, the head, the torso, body, the tail, the arm, and the leg. Okay, let's go back to the animation. If we play the animation, there, we have a walking dinosaur. You notice it's got a walk cycle. There is some kind of bouncy gait going on. The tail is flopping a bit. The eyes are blinking, and the jaws are snapping open and close. And it seems like there's some kind of subtle soft body squishy effect going on with the body. So quite a few things to understand in order to make this animation, but we'll go through them one by one. Right, let's start with the tail. Click on the base of the tail. Let's play the animation again. You notice that the base of the tail is rotating and the rest of the tail follows with it in sort of a bandy physics type way. Okay, so the base of the tail, if you click on it, it says rotate cycle motor, which makes sense. What we're doing is we're using a rotate cycle motor to rotate from -25 degrees to 0 degrees, and it repeats itself over the span of the animation. This is the basic driving motor, and it drives the base tail. Everything else has a band physics motor installed in it. So the rest of the tail, the rest of these tailbones have a single band physics motor installed on them. And they respond, or they're driven by, the base tailbone. The base tailbone which has a rotate cycle motor. So if we play the animation again, we see that's exactly what happens. Okay, so that's the tail. Let's look at the legs now. That constitutes our walk cycle. We click on one of the legs. You notice this semicircular arc handle shows up, and it says Smooth IK Rotate Motor. This is the motor we're using to do the walk cycle. It's going to draw or animate out, follow this semicircular arc that we've shaped using our shaping controls, using our shaping attributes over here. And this tip of the leg is going to trace out this curve over here, while the rest of the legs will be posed according to the tip of the target leg in an IK fashion, because it's a smooth IK rotate motor. The other leg also has a similar motor installed, and the key difference between these two motors is basically the phase. If you notice, in this case the phase is set to 0, and for the other leg the phase is set to 1.1. This allows the two legs to walk out of sync, and that makes our walk cycle. So if we play it again, you notice that the two legs are basically tracing out that semicircular arc, but they're also tracing their paths in an out of sync or out of phase fashion. And the reason why that works is because we set different phases for those two IK rotate motors. Okay, so that makes up our walk cycle. There is a bouncy gait that goes up and down the gait to make this walk cycle more believable. And the way it's done is on the root bone of the body, we have installed a move bounce motor over here. You notice that for this motor, the amp X or amplitude X is set to 0 because we don't want it to bounce left and right. We do, however, want it to bounce up and down, which is why the amp Y is set to 0.1. And the bounciness gives it a more believable gait. Okay. Now, the jaws are very simple. The jaws are just basically two rotate cycle motors with appropriate end and start angles set to them. So they snap up, open and close based on these attributes. The arms swing in a subtle way, but they respond to the bouncy gait of this dinosaur. And the reason why they do that is because they have the band physics motor installed in them. Okay, so that concludes the bone motor section of this dinosaur. Is there anything else going on? There is. There are a couple things that don't constitute bone animation. The main things going on here which aren't done using bone animation are the blinking eyes and this soft body type motion. So let's stop the animation and click on the regions tab. And the areas of interest are the upper head where the eye is blinking. And that is accomplished by using a control points motor. If we click on edit motor, you notice that a single control point has been created over the eye of this dinosaur. And if we click on animate to switch to animate mode for this particular control point, we can scrub through the frame range. We can see that the scale values of this control point have been set over the time range. In particular, we're actually setting the scale Y, because scale Y scales the eyes open and closed based on the values. At value 1, the eyes are wide open, and then as you step through the frame range, you scroll through the frame range, you notice that the scale values drop, and it goes back to 1 again. Right. Okay, so that's how we blink the eyes over the frame range. The other thing to pay attention to is the main body, because if you play the animation, you notice that there is some kind of flesh, muscular, directable soft body motion going on here. And the way we accomplish that is to use the physics motor. So if you click on edit motor, you notice that the center interior region of the body has been painted white. This means that this region is glued or constrained. In other words, it's going to follow the animation perfectly. But the outer regions of the flesh are left unconstrained. So they're going to be allowed to wobble and move about based on physics. And if we play it again, you notice that loose flesh type motion going on. Okay, and that basically concludes the main parts to animating this dinosaur mascot. Happy animating!